there. Welcome to this episode of Intuition, Your First Sense. This is Vicky, and this week's episode is fun for me because I'm a planner. I like to plan things out, and I'm really good at going with the flow. So yes, sometimes that does create a bit of a chaotic situation in my old brain. As you may be aware, if you've been listening, the last week of the month, I've been doing a chapter from my book and that I wrote a decade ago. And this month's chapter ends up being I Did It. And while you could say I planned it because I said I'm going to do a chapter every month until I run out of book, and then we'll find another series that we'll do. But I didn't plan on doing I Did It in December, when I would love for all of you to say, I did it. You know how little kids do that? Like, I did it. They're so proud of themselves. I think we should be really proud of ourselves for reaching this milestone of 2022 and celebrating the fact that we are still reeling from the last few years. There's a lot that is still processing. And I want for everybody to be kind to themselves and to give themselves a little bit of consideration while also encouraging self to move forward, because that's the dance we are in this life. However, I so want you to take some time this week, or if you're listening to this after December, fantastic. I still want you to celebrate the fact that 2022 came, it went by in a blur, and yet here we are. And we get to be present, and we get to do 2023. And while I believe every day is magic, I think there's something particularly inspiring to completing a month, to completing a week, a day, a year, and to recognizing your own significance and being able to be proud of yourself for doing it, whatever it is. I feel like when we celebrate the moments that may not make front page news, but are so significant in our own lives. And that can be all the socks matched. I reconciled all of my books. I had switched accounting systems halfway through the year. And with moving and everything, I was a few months behind. I got those all reconciled today. And I really feel like that's an I did it moment, because it's been weighing on me because I like to have them all accurate and up to date. And this particular year, I took a course in finance, which I've not done before. I've learned a lot, and it's been bugging me that it wasn't caught up so that I could fully participate in the class. And now it is, and I can fully participate in the rest of the class and feel like I did it. I can be proud of myself for that. Is it anything different than I've done for the last 20 years plus of being in business? No. But dang it, I'm going to celebrate that. Oh, and a little side note here. One of the reasons that I have been so focused and able to get things completed lately is because of the magic mind that I've been taking. I told you about it a couple episodes ago, and I would like to just say a little bit more about it because this stuff works. It helps me to reduce any pressure I feel in getting things done. And I know that's because of the matcha that's in it, and that the nootropics, because let me tell you, I'm not going to be able to pronounce them, but all of it, along with the lion's mane mushrooms, which is a nootropic, it helps to reduce the inflammation and any anxiousness that comes along with the pressure we put on ourselves. And I have been so impressed with this. I've referred countless family members to it. And I love the fact that this company is out there creating this because of a redirect in what we need to focus, and the message of we just want to feel good while focusing. We don't need a productivity hack to get more done. We need something that helps us to bring the skills we already have on board into play. And that is right up my line. So if you do want to have that, of course, you can go to the link in the show notes and use the code word intuition and get your 40% off. And if you sign up for the subscription, you'll also get an additional 5% off. But it really works. It takes amazing. And I have thoroughly enjoyed the calm that it brings myself and the focus it brings to me and the feedback from a couple clients who have decided to go ahead and try it and that they feel like what we talk about in a session can actually be accomplished. Give it a look-see, would you? And so now back to what I was talking about, which is celebration, which we can include the Magic Mind in because I am celebrating the fact that I found that. What I would love for you to do, celebrate whatever it is you've done today with a great big, I did it. Go ahead and do that now. Find something that you did today. Did you brush your teeth? Did you forget? Don't worry about it. Just don't breathe on anybody. Did you get dressed? Did you take those morning breaths, deep, deep breaths of connection? Did you remember that you made a cup of coffee and where you left it? I lost mine this morning. Found it again. Recently switched to decaf to try to help my stomach a little bit. And boy, am I missing some of that caffeine. But did you find it? Good for you. I did it. So now I'm going to read the chapter. But I want you to keep in mind as you're listening to this that you have accomplished so much in your life. You are successful. You are where you are today, standing in that spot, sitting in that spot, reclining in that spot. You are here. That is success. Okay. This next year, I have set an intention of redefining success and hoping to bring some balance and some joyfulness and some, manifesting, to what we want to create in the next year. But I also would love, as a success coach myself, to start defining that. And I am going to do that so that at the end of the year, I can say, I did it. So listen along, all you wonderful beings, as I read you this story of my recollections of what I did it was back in 2012 when I wrote this. And then, let's see how it applies. All right, here we go. Foremost, looking in the rearview mirror is a daily occurrence. If you want to back up your car, you turn and you look, but then you use your mirrors. And in those days, we didn't have backup cameras. Thank you very much. We can add. You may also use your backup camera, but as somebody who's old school, turn over your shoulder, use your mirrors. If you are making sure the car behind you is going to stop when you approach a yellow light on the cusp of turning red, you look in the rearview mirror. If your child lets out a blood-curdling scream, you look in the rearview mirror, or perhaps you're one of those vigilant parents who installed an extra mirror attached so you can see your child at the angle that is most effective. But either way, all of these are valid reasons for using a rearview mirror, and quite frankly, validate why they are so popular. When it's not a great idea to look in the rearview mirror is when you use it as an excuse to move forward at the green light. I matched that up. When you use it as an excuse to not move forward at the green light of life. I have been working with people to help them align, still do this today, with who they are, what they would like to see in their lives, and from the non-physical spiritual side to the completely physical life coaching side to the success side. These feelings of get me to that peaceful side and have this confusion cleared can create some very big amounts of frustration in people. It was while working with someone who had a hard time believing that she had created the life that she was in, and when she was looking for the opposite, that I came up with the analogy of the rearview mirror. And okay, honestly, it was probably her guides or mine that helped me hear it, but I'm so grateful to whomever that was that delivered the words because it turned out to be something that worked well for her, as well as thousands of people since, and hopefully to you as you listen to this now. What I had communicated to her was, when we look back, we create forward. Because she was spending so much time looking behind her in life, she couldn't move forward. But she also couldn't see that she had been repeating the same behaviors again and again while expecting things to change on their own accord. This was her rearview mirror. We all have one. It's affixed right there to our windshield, nice and tight. And while I am a huge proponent of knowing where we come from, I know and understand energy to be a forward-moving force. That is where we want to be heading, forward. So often in our human lives, we want to assign blame or at least have it be someone else's fault for where we are. That not only puts a large brake on our movement, it takes our power away. When we look to others for how our lives are, we aren't able to take responsibility for the learning or the joy because we've given it all to them. When was the last time you looked at your stuff and thought, oh yeah, this one's on me? And hopefully have some humor around that. If you haven't, do it. It's very powerful. And it comes with a feeling of such freedom, it may just become addictive in a good way. We've heard a lot about manifesting over the decades, over the millennia at this point, and I am a huge fan of the law of attraction myself. I have seen it play out in 2022 more than any other place in my life. And we'll talk more about that as we move through the next season too, and the steps I took and how it physically manifested for me. I see people thrive using it. I use it very much in my coaching and in my life, obviously. And I see a lot of people who are confused about what it is, especially the idea that we can be doing it even if we're unaware that we are. And one of the first things I ask a person when they come for a consultation is if they understand that they already are a master manifester. I tell them they can go home now or we can log off now that we're virtual, because they already know how to do something they thought they were coming in to learn, how to align their life and create what they want. And the first response I typically get is a look of confusion. I mean, some people come to me with the knowledge that, yeah, I know I'm creating it, but I just don't know how I'm in my way. And then we look for the blocks that as humans, we're pretty good at creating and putting there. Eventually, the knowing that everyone has inside starts to show, and they're able to feel a presence or a part of themselves that they had stopped consulting with. And this stall in knowing often occurs because a habit of blaming others had become so easy to fall back on. When you break the cycle and you stop bringing the past along with you into the future and into the now, most importantly, the blocks naturally lift. And yes, we have to look at some trauma and we have to look at belief systems, but it really can be this easy, peeps. And this is what I would love everyone to learn about themselves, that there may be situations that are difficult to move through, and they may have changed how you view yourself or your world. But the power is not in reviewing them over and over. The power is in acknowledging your feelings and recognizing the wonderful opportunity to shift your habits to a place of self-awareness and authenticity. Remember when you were a kid and you did something you were proud of and would yell, "I did it," like I said in the opening? This is what you will be able to do if you look at your own self and commit to moving forward with what speaks to you and through you. The steps don't have to be big mammoth steps. Micro movements matter. It's my mantra. But they do have to be steps, and be willing to take those steps one after another is a necessity. You can stop and rest along the way, and you hopefully can reflect that you have a mirror, but don't get caught watching the movie over and over again. Save that action for your favorite comedy, the TV show that you love so much that you could watch over and over again. Mine is MASH. I could watch that forever. And a huge bowl of popcorn, and preferably in some comfy clothes or your jammies. So that rearview mirror is a wonderful thing. But if you're living life by looking in that rearview mirror, you are not going to be able to take advantage of beautiful view that's coming through the windshield of your life. So I'm going to ask you some questions here. Where in your life are you using the rearview mirror, and what is behind you to remain stuck, to remain in a place of telling the story of old, and to remain in that place of blaming others? Where are you doing it in your life? Do not blame yourself for this, please. This is observational. Here are some of the areas that may come up if you're like, I'm not sure. Well, perhaps you've been blaming those parents or whomever raised you. Did you have rotten siblings? This is where I want to remind you about soul groups and that we choose who we grow up with. So now would be a good time to think about that and allow it to sink in. Is it society's fault? Are you blaming outward circumstances for how you are? And yes, I do know that there is definite bias in our country and in most countries, and there is horrific injustices that are created. They're still not in charge of how you talk to yourself or your own wiring. So is it society's fault that you aren't rich, that your videos haven't gone viral, or that you're not more popular or happy? It's not. There may be circumstances that are contributing to it, but it's still not. Is it your partner's fault that things don't get done, or that you aren't happy? Doing a little bit of projection there. Did you have an illness? And now that fear of going back there keeps you from looking forward, and it keeps you looking in the rearview mirror for a heads up, for something that might give you some information that you maybe didn't have the first time around. Have you experienced prejudice or abuse, and now you feel you have to look over your shoulder also to be prepared that not everyone, or that most people, are out to get you? Recently, as an aside, I've been having this conversation with someone who tends to see that the deficit in people rather than the generosity in them. And, we're opposite in that. And yet I can still love this person and have great conversations, and we can learn from each other. Maybe I can be too idealistic sometimes, and she can be just too bitter sometimes. So, we can have great conversations and have had great conversations about this. And I hope we'll continue to, because I truly believe that the overwhelming majority of people are amazing, and maybe scared themselves that other people aren't as amazing. So we're all hiding behind this shell, and we can move out and be kind and affect change that way. So perhaps you did experience prejudice or abuse in the past, but can you look to the ones that didn't do that as your guidance? And a lot of these are rhetorical questions, because it isn't anyone's fault, even yours. It's your choice of whether you keep using these as excuses for what's behind you in order to create what is in front of you. So I'd just like you to save yourself some steps by remembering that forward-flowing energy carries all the wonder and magic of your own personal creation. And what lies in front of you is there because you chose, should you choose, to remove the rearview mirror. You need it in your vehicle. You do not necessarily need it for moving through life. You can always access some memories, some skills that you've learned in the past, but looking in that rearview mirror for something to happen because it's always happened that way is just going to get you more of that. So if you want to remove that mirror and it's kind of stuck, like the adhesive, maybe you need a little spiritual glue gun to get that stuff off of there. Identify something you have done in the last 2 days that you are proud of. Do not go further back. I want something that is very current, something that maybe hasn't even set in, like my example of getting my books reconciled, or we got my spin bike here. We've been in the process of moving, and that was one of the last things to come over. And I am so excited after a couple meetings to go down there and get back on that. We'll see how the legs feel after that, but I know I'll be grateful of that. So later I could say, I'm proud of myself for that. I got there because it is a sheet of ice outside. So this gal is not going for her power walk. So can you find something in the last 2 days that you are proud of yourself? Self-pride is amazing. And most of us are not going to get such a fat head that we won't fit through a doorway. So stop worrying about that. Something that made you feel empowered. Perhaps you listened to this podcast and it gave you a little zippity-doo-dah. I hope it did. Maybe you stepped outside and you took a few deep breaths of fresh air and then you went back inside and that was your workout for the day. Fine. Great. Be proud of that. Do you already know what's for dinner? Because if you already know what's for dinner, you need to be extremely proud of yourself, because I don't know about you, but I get so tired of that question. Sometimes it's Cheerios. I get so tired of that question. So feel what excuse you're using to stay where you are and face it head on. Do not cause a fight. Just look at it and say, oh, hey there, excuse. I see you. How are you serving me today? okay, you're not. So can you step aside and, if you want to come back tomorrow, I guess we'll talk then, but perhaps you could just leave. So often people are afraid of the success of something rather than the fear of failure. They're afraid of the success. And why? Because there's this ridiculous push that success comes from a lot of money, working 24/7, having a huge team. And that's not true. I know in every atom that I have in my body, every molecule, that success is inherently individual. What might feel like success to me may not even interest you. And a lot of the times we have a fear of that success because we have bought into the idea that in order to maintain it, we are going to have to go, balls to the wall and just keep going. That's a terrible expression. I love what hides in our brain and just pops out of the mouth when you're sitting in front of a microphone. So are you afraid of something succeeding and you doing well and not being able to sustain it? So therefore, perhaps you could use some help. Hi, I'm here. I'm available for coaching. And relaxing into that success and allowing the growth to happen naturally and at a pace that feels right to you. And then piece by piece, unveiling what is to come. I would love for you to journal or vocalize something that lights you up, no matter how silly it may seem to say it out loud, and then go do it. Because true success is living aligned and loving what you're doing. And yeah, there's probably other people who are going to love that. That's great, because this would be boring if we all loved the same thing. So in the next day or so, you are going to journal or vocalize something that lights you up. And if you want to send it to me privately, because you're not ready for anybody else to hear it, but I won't tell anybody, anywhere on the social media, Vicky@VickyBaird.com, Vicky Baird Coaching on social media. Or if you have my cell number, text me. No matter how silly it is, you can text the business line 518-777-2770, and I'll get that too. No matter how silly it seems to say it out loud, it's important to say it out loud. And then for your final act and request of this podcast, put those hands up in the air and yell as loud as you can, "I did it." And then give yourself a round of applause. After you give yourself a round of applause, I would like the hands to go back up in the air and at least one of them to come down and pat yourself on the back. And I will be supporting you from here, and I'll be saying I did it, because your friend on the other side of the microphone can be incredibly difficult and hard on herself. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of that. So I did it. This is going to be what we say in our mantra for the rest of 2022. And then, the rest of your life, really just celebrate. Did you know that most people work with me as a coach because they want to move forward in their professional lives? And then they realize once we start working together that it's a whole person approach, and I am going to help them move through their blocks, their fears, some of the trauma they've experienced, and to create a much more aligned life. So many times I hear, this is not what I thought I was signing up for. And that's such wonderful feedback to have, because if you're signing up and working with a coach and everybody does it the same, are you really being seen as an individual? At Vicky Baird Coaching, I do it all as an individual, and I would love to work with you. Go to VickyBaird.com to check it out and see if you'd like to work with me. I thank you for being with me for this year, as this is our 201 episode. And I don't have all of the words, and I often come up short, as much as I can talk, with the words to communicate how grateful I am that for each and every one of you that listens to this or reads it in the transcript and that participates and is a blessing in my life. And I'm so grateful to be here with you and to celebrate this next year that we have going. And I will see you in the next episode. Wow, thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your First Sense. If you still want some more Vicky and some more intuitive development skills, you can head over to vickybaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com and check out all the courses that are there, the app that's available for you to load directly on your phone, and for the Wisdom Wednesday group that meets once a month, where you can meet like-minded people, have instruction in your intuition development, as well as coaching strategies for navigating this amazing life that you are in. Thank you again for all you do and who you are. And I will see you over on the website, and I will see you in the next episode.